back, YouTubers, to another Q&A with us, the British Fist.
Coaching.
I am Mr. Parkin, and this guy sitting behind me is none other than NJ.
What's up?
Indeed, we both did the what's up together there, didn't we?
We did for this one.
And of course, this is the Q&A number 41. Subscribe up above, like this video, and comment your thoughts on any of the questions we've answered down in the comment section below.
Make sure you contact us in the link in the description box below.
Yes, and also keep sending in your questions. A couple of weeks now before WrestleMania. These are going to be the last 3 Q&As before WrestleMania starts, so keep getting your questions in. Apologies if we don't answer your questions, but we've got a lot in at the moment. We're going to try and steamroll through them as much as possible, so you guys can get your questions in a Q&A reasonable time. That's what we're about here at Q&A at British Fist. Fan interaction, NJ. That's what we're about, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Speaking of interaction, let's go on to the first question, shall we? Anton WS888. Do you guys think the Undertaker is going to go back to the American Badass gimmick? He mentions in the question that this is mainly due to the fact that Undertaker's gone bald and the whole thing about him going bald last year.
With me, I look at it and think that gimmick was a temporary thing, come and gone. Undertaker is all about being the dead man. So I think the whole cutting hair thing was so personal for the Undertaker, and now he's just going to be concentrating on still being the dead man with a bald head. Yeah,
the rumours are that he was very uncomfortable with his hairstyle, with the long hair getting on his nerves in his actual normal life outside of wrestling. So I don't see him going back to the American Badass gimmick. I see him having probably shorter hair, but still embracing the dead man gimmick. And it does seem like, from what we've seen of him on TV, that he does have shorter hair and that he's still kind of embracing that sort of dead man gimmick that he's, you know, been famous for over these last 20 years.
And when it comes to him wrestling, we're going to see the whole baldness itself.
You think we will?
Oh, yes.
Oh, God, when he removes that robe at WrestleMania, are we just going to be like, what is it going to be? No hair, summer hair? Or is he going to have a wig on? I don't know. Who knows, he might even have a wig. Do you think it, and also he says, do you think it would have been a good move to go back to that gimmick? No, I don't think it would have been either. Especially seeing as he is approaching his final WrestleManias. I think what they should really embrace the dead man gimmick rather than the biker gimmick. Especially as it is going to be now his last couple of sort of swan song manias now.
That's very true. As much as I love the theme tune that he had, awesomeness, I'm kind of glad that he's gone to what we all remember him as, which is the dead man himself.
Yes, and also while we're here, do you think he was wearing a wig on his return? Oh yes, you could tell that was fake hair, wasn't it? That was not real hair for shit. And especially when the next vignette you get, he's cutting his hair, and then all of a sudden he comes out with very little hair and a robe on covering it with no long hair.
Yeah, the wig didn't work out for him, but there we go.
You're wondering why in the vignette he started cutting his hair. He's really got that mental over Triple H. Does he want vengeance?
Oh, yes.
That's what Triple H does to a guy. He rips his hair out. Isn't that right, NJ?
Ah, rips him to pieces.
We're resorting to bold jokes here on the British Fist. Don't worry, NJ. I've had people pluck grey hairs out of my head, so you're not the only one on that one. Mr. Hellface 666. Who do you prefer, Deadman or Biker Taker? Wow, we're getting a lot of Undertaker questions, aren't we? Definitely Deadman Taker. He was always a better as a Deadman Taker.
Done it now. Yeah,
you're gonna make a big mistake.
As much as I love that, it's dead man all the way.
Yeah, I love that theme. That was the one reason I liked the biker gimmick, the theme song he had, especially the roll-in theme gimmick as the theme as well. That was pretty good. But always dead man, just more of a presence, better entrance, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Rest in peace, according to the Rock 6-man Hell in a Cell match. So it's got to be Deadman for me. Just the legacy of the Deadman will live on rather than the biker gimmick, which was just a temporary thing, like you said earlier in the video. Who would you book as his last ever opponent? It's a difficult one, this, isn't it?
Well, again, 2 answers here. Like, again, most people are going to disagree with this, but the whole Triple H thing, the way Taker described it, saying, we're the last 2 from the Attitude Era, I want you to be the one to finish me off, this, that. But then if he does survive this, which, as we've seen now, there's a chance he can, I would like the next opponent to be a younger talent
who's gonna definitely be at the top. But the only trouble is, have WWE really nurtured anyone like that they know is definitely going to be a future star, like a Brock Lesnar was, or a Rock was, or a Triple H was.
When they're 100% sure it's going to be Taker's last WrestleMania, they're 100% sure, then it needs to be someone that is going to benefit from it. That's the main thing.
Yeah, I know a lot of people will probably bash me for this, but who's the top guy in the company? Who's the one guy who hasn't really faced Taker properly since Vengeance 2003, who you feel could legitimately beat the guy from the way he's booked?
Santino Marella?
No, John Cena. You stop with your Santino Marella bitchiness. But yeah, I mean, in my opinion, his last ever opponent, I know people might not like it, but the one person who can legitimately beat him is John Cena. I'd like to see it be a young guy, especially if they know that young guy is going to be at the top, maybe like a Wade Barrett or a Del Rio, or something like that. But would they be legitimate enough to really believably beat Taker? That is the issue with this.
It's just the way I see it, is that so far enjoying his career. He's already got loads of milestones in his career already. He's going to have probably The Rock at WrestleMania. You can add Taker as well. He's had so much in his career. There's other wrestlers I think should have benefited more from Cena. But in the aspect of who's the top of the company for Taker last WrestleMania, it would have to be the Jackass, yes.
It's one the Jackass. It's one of those many arguments you can really do about this whole who Taker is. Like, let us know who you think Taker's last opponent should be, etc. in that comment section below. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Wow, we got a third Undertaker question. 00 Loopy Pockix 00. I hope I pronounced that name right. If Undertaker returned as the American Badass, what do you think his reaction would be like? I think people would mark out. I honestly do. I mean, it's been a while since they've seen it.
It's the Undertaker, so no matter what he really does, people are going to get behind and cheer him that. But also, the fact that he made that gimmick work, even though people like us don't really like it as much as the Deadman, it works. So I think people are going to cheer it just because it's the Undertaker and a gimmick that worked for him.
It's very true, especially with Undertaker's return and the nostalgia, and people would usually cheer at whatever he usually did. I mean, I remember WrestleMania 20 when he had that really shitty match with Kane, but he still managed to pull off the massive reaction, the massive entrance, etc. I mean, guys like Undertaker, who are legends in the business, who people respect fully, apart from those people that were chanting "What" during his promo, whoever you are, you should be ashamed of yourselves. They're well respected, and they're always going to get large pops.
They are indeed.
Whoever their gimmick is. Unless it's really, really shit. Like, for example, Isaac Yankem, who was a Kane, but we won't go on to that one. Alan Big Dick Mac. Wow, you really think highly of yourself, don't you? Alan Big Dick Mac. How much longer do you see Kane and Mark Henry's careers going? A couple of years. Maybe Mark Henry's contract's up soon, we've heard, and we've heard that he's not happy with the whole situation with him and himself now with WWE and Vince McMahon. So looks like Mark Henry may have maybe another year. Kane, I do see going another couple of years though, because he is still, he's still pretty good.
That echoed what I was going to say. Mark Henry, he's been treated really well before this whole losing streak thing. He's been treated well with this whole title reign and that, making this monster heel.
Yep.
Great. So maybe if the WWE can build him back to that again, maybe he'll stay for another year. But the contract going, he may finish. Kane, yes, he's not as high as Mark Henry's been going. But with this whole new gimmick, maybe they can keep working on it for a few more years, whatever.
It still has a lot of, especially with them just bringing back the mask gimmick, they still have a lot to do with that gimmick. My only fear is, remember what the Kane gimmick was like in 1998 when he faced Undertaker, and then a couple of years later he just went downhill so much. And that is, to me, that's just what's going to happen again. And I really would like Kane to go out on a high rather than on a low. Because he is, again, a well-respected worker in the business, kind of similar to what Taker is, probably not on the same level, but I see Kane's career going longer than Mark Henry's, but they're both guys who are approaching the end of their careers, as much as you don't like to say that, but so is Triple H. But, Kane and Mark Henry are approaching the end of their careers, so they're not going to have too much longer left.
Sadly, yes, but all we can say is that I can enjoy Kane's reign for now. Mark Henry, he can go out whenever. We just don't know what the WWE are going to try and do with him now.
Good question, this next one. What big-time superstar from Raw or SmackDown do you see being left off the Mania 28 card, if any? I've got two for you, NJ, to consider. On Raw, Miz, simply because he was last year's main event, beating the top guy. It seems like he's going to miss out on WrestleMania. And from SmackDown, considering what he did throughout the whole of 2011, Mark Henry, because he was a dominant heel champion, probably one of the best things that had down at SmackDown happen.
And my plus to that SmackDown is Wade Barrett.
Oh, of course, yeah, because he's injured as well. Yeah, that is a real shame, but that is due to injury, not due to the fact that they're not getting pushed. So it's kind of different. But I do understand what you're saying. Barrett did deserve a place on it, but he's just very unfortunate to be injured.
If I was to add more, we've had Alberto return recently, Christian return recently, and they're not having a few, they just returned. But there's so many names, but the main two really are Mark Henry, Miz, and Wade Barrett's injury. Yeah,
the main three, like you say. That is a big loss, isn't it? Especially with Mania being the biggest stage of them all, where you're supposed to show all your best talent. It's unfortunate, really, especially for guys like The Miz and Mark Henry and Barrett, who would essentially have had a very big place on that card if booked correctly. Will the British Fist ever acknowledge the Over the Rope show false claims that they're a better show than you guys? I just got one question. Who the fuck are Over the Rope show? I've never heard of them.
No, it's a bit of a name that many people are going to probably use some down the line, but I've not heard of them yet.
Someone make a YouTube name, Over the Rope Show, because I've never heard of I've heard of Off the Rope Show, but I've never heard of Over the Rope Show. So,
but if Over the Rope Show did make something say they're better than us, we'll prove them wrong.
Oh, definitely will. The fact we're British would go very far for that one. But anyway, next question. Speaking of British, comes from another British YouTuber who you guys should check out, James the Thunder Morehouse, the Black Rose 1991, and he asked us a very good question, also UK based. Should TNA relocate a lot of their shows to the UK? With the way they sold out Wembley Stadium and the fact they're massive over here, I think if they toured in more often, they would make a nice little profit. I mean, we saw the London shows. They sold out 6,000-8,000, the most they've ever had at a show. The atmosphere was fantastic. In terms of ratings, the UK fans actually watch TNA a lot more than WWE in the UK. I mean, it's been proved by ratings on Challenge and Sky Sports. I mean, if they come to UK a couple of times a year and do what they did in the London shows, which were essentially very good, mainly due to the atmosphere, it would be good, I think, for TNA to relocate a couple of their shows to the UK.
The way I see it is that the United States is a big place, many things going on there, so if they stayed there, yes, it'd be good for them, but touring here in the UK would definitely get us more involved, as well as the fans more involved, so I would say tour more here, but stay in the US.
And you tap into more markets, which is essentially what companies like WWE and TNA need to do a little bit more, in my opinion, especially with, Asia, and TNA have done that well with Rinka King, Mexico as well with AAA, so they could, especially TNA, especially with the way they're variating at the moment, to really set themselves up in the UK would be a massive thing for TNA. Really help spread their products, because it is massive over here.
Very true, yes.
Compared to WWE. iRod4545. If you had control of the Garrett Bischoff story in TNA, how would you package him? I get he's not a legit wrestler, but how would you get him face or heel over as opposed to the way they're doing right now? To be honest with you, I think the worst thing they did was acknowledge he was Bischoff's son, because the first thing you can point at is nepotism. That's the first thing you point at. You look at Garrett Bischoff and you think he's Eric Bischoff's son. If they were going to do it, they should have repackaged him as someone else, not as Eric Bischoff's son, because that immediately means people are shouting nepotism, 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 and it just doesn't work.
It's like, I'm going to change to WWE, the McMahon family. Shane was there, so he got involved in big storylines. Stephanie, yes, like that. So if you weren't Bischoff's son, it would have been a whole different thing. Yep. But in my opinion, what would have done to him is, at the moment, many people might not agree with me, but at the moment, the TV title doesn't mean anything. So maybe giving him a build-up towards that before the TV title gets big again, that would have been a start. Not jump straight up to face someone like Gunner.
Yes, basically. I would package him as a guy who is really not... I'd really play off the fact that he wasn't a legit wrestler and kind of say to myself, look, well, this guy isn't a legit wrestler, so let's make him start off at the bottom, maybe lose a couple of matches, but try and work his way up to something, to amount to something, and at least use time to go. Rather than sticking him in stupid spots which he doesn't deserve, with Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, semi-main events of pay-per-views. For example, our main events in some cases. Just stupid. I mean, I would not package this guy as a big deal at all to start with. You'd actually try and build him up rather than trying to force him down the fucking throat of the fans, and they're not going to like that. And, there's been so much proof. Remember at the UK shows, they booed Garrett Bischoff? Package him differently other than Eric Bischoff's son. It's going to get shoved down your throat. And
sadly, that's what we're seeing now. From this show onwards of TNA, he's probably going to keep progressing. He's going to probably get more involved, and they're going to probably push him too fast, and it's going to backfire, and it's going to go straight downhill.
I mean, to be honest with you, I would treat it the same way. I mean, TNA at the moment are doing the right thing in the sense that they're kind of saying that he's, he's giving heart and he's trying his best, even though he's maybe not good enough. But I just wouldn't make him Eric Bischoff's son. I'd make him a wrestler who, fans can relate to. A lot of fans can relate to a guy who's, down and out and, is trying his best, even though he's not really succeeding. So I'll try to do that just without the Bischoff stuff, but that's just me. Okay. Chase Oliver 68 asked us some questions. So shame he left YouTube. I'll say that right now because he was one of the people we did watch here at the British Fist. Chase Oliver 68. This is going to be a special little Q&A section for Chase Oliver 68. How can I be more Asian Randy Orton? Do what Sting does. Just spray yourself with black paint or something.
That'd be one idea. And what I would do is go around the streets RKOing just random people. Don't care who they are. Just RKO them.
True, yeah, that would be brilliant. And some of them, you never know, might even no-sell it. Like Metal D did against Jeff Schlegel. That was so funny. But anyway, where do you see these superstars in 5 years? JTG.
Probably on TNA or something. Just moving on from WWE because he's not working out.
Randy Orton.
Sky high.
Yeah, he'll still be in the Breakfast Club only. Tyson Kidd.
Tag team, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope tag team as well. Del Rio, upper mid-card. Possible main events of upper mid card.
Build up to main event again.
Yeah, and Daniel Bryan. Mid card.
Back down.
He will unfortunately fall back down to the mid card. That's just the way it goes. He says I chose a mixture of guys to make it more interesting. Oh, it did, brother. What is the most bloodiest wrestling match you've ever seen? I must admit, the first ever pay-per-view I watched was it was Royal Rumble 2000, and I think the matches in Triple H and Cactus Jack in that street fight was a real legit bloody match.
That's another thing. There's 2 examples I'm thinking of. Not a particular match, but Hell in a Cell's normally, where the old Hell in a Cell, shall I say, used to be the bloodiest match where they can go crazy and everything, or a First Blood match.
First Blood match, but yeah, plenty of them. But for me, Cactus Jack Triple H was one of the bloodiest matches I've ever seen. There might be more. We just can't think of any off the top of our head. A very interesting question to end the Q&A. Nathan Nerdmage. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. How much do you think that the internet and how much we know behind the scenes has hurt the shock value and overall fans' interest in wrestling? I believe the Lex Man gave us a very similar question to this a while back, but still an interesting topic to touch on. Go on, give us your thoughts.
Well, you said about how behind the scenes has hurt the thing. The fact that, like, Smackdown, for instance, spoilers, that is one big example. The fact that it's not live and spoilers come out. The fact we can find out, Twitter is a way of damaging it because people are tweeting things on there and we realise things in advance. So it's things that we get to know in advance that it's really damaging the future upcoming things is one of my perfect examples.
I mean, let's put it this way. When you were a kid, NJ, during the Attitude Era, when we were both, kids approaching our teenage years, we never used to know anything behind the scenes. Everything seemed like legit real to us, which is what was the great thing about being 12, 11, 10 in the Attitude Era. It just seemed so real. And we knew nothing about the behind the scenes then, and it was so much more exciting. But do you think it would be the same genuine excitement and same genuine fandom if we knew what was going on behind the scenes? Because I don't think it would be. It wouldn't be the same if we knew what was going on. This is why this is a good question.
The way I see it is back in the day, we had shows like Raw. Yeah, they've changed over time. Like, they're 2 separate shows now, but you used to like, I can't wait till the next show. I don't know what's going to happen. But with this, the fact there's spoilers and people talking about it, it's kind of makes us think, oh, we know what's happening now.
And because we know more about the business, we think to ourselves, oh, they're not losing or they have to win. And it does affect the enjoyment of the show, but it also gives... But the opposite end of that is the fact that we now know a bit more and we're a bit more knowledgeable and we could be a little bit better in our videos and reviews when we, give our opinion on something rather than just saying, oh, that was awesome. We can actually give reasoning to behind it rather than just the fact that it was a mark-out moment. Do you know what I mean? There is 2 different sides to it, though.
That's very true. And there's still people out there that do the logical thing, which is not look at spoilers and concentrate on the show and see wrestling as a fan thing more than how we see it, which is we try to analyse stuff, work it out and that, which it is damaging in a way, but it's to help our reviews, like Dan said.
Yeah, exactly. So very, very interesting question there, and I'm glad you brought that one up because it is a good point. And you guys out there, put your opinions down in the comment section below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it too. What the fuck are you doing? A very special point to the comment section. So that's the end of another Q&A. Q&A number 41. Thank you guys for watching. Keep sending in your questions. Of course, we have a lot to get through, but we'd love to get some more. We want to keep doing these Q&As for as long as possible. I think the 52nd version of the Q&A will be a very special year anniversary one, won't it? Indeed, 1 year anniversary of the Q&A could be coming up in 12 weeks if we get enough questions. So bring them, guys. Keep bringing them up anyway. NJ, do your usual outro.
Well, thank you very much for the questions. This has been a good Q&A we've given you. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Please give us your thoughts on the questions and the answers we've given. Until next time, people, from Mr. Parkin and me and Jay, goodbye.